Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SA Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
We are now live, and we are live, not like some of the other sessions we're doing recently, which are pre-recorded. And I have to just say, I always enjoy the live sessions more than the pre-recordeds because we can actually engage and you can actually change direction and manage what you're needing to manage whilst people are talking. These sessions, to the audience and to anybody who's new, are supposed to be discussions, conversations. We really do want your input and your questions and your challenges so that we can actually address those questions and challenges. We often have the slides in that here, if we have resounding silence in the chat box, at least we can still cover 3 hours worth of work. But it is meant to address your concerns with the topic that's on hand. We were just chatting before we went live about the fact that we've had requests for these sessions to be more practical. So Carmen and I are debating what practical means, because it can come from different directions. We were sort of being given the insight of more case study based, more worked example based, which sometimes is topic driven, hey Carmen. So some topics lean themselves more to that than other topics. But we do really want to meet everybody's needs and make this a, dare I say, safe place to come to. We want these, I think, to be different to some of the other training that's available, to be issue driven. So like today, talking about nonprofit organizations, we want it to be the central theme of the workshop to be, say, in this situation, nonprofit organizations, because there are quite a few updates that happen around us. I know, for example, I'm doing the August MCLU or monthly legislation compliance update. But any of your thoughts or feedback, you have us like as a captive audience literally for the next 3 hours. And we will happily and take and actually are on bended knee requesting your comments and your thoughts to make these sessions more what you want. Okay, and to make them successful in that respect. We understand time is precious, especially in August. So if you have any thoughts or comments and we can make them work, we will. Even to the point that as we are thinking about what we've already prepped for today, if we can, we speedboats, so we are flexible, we are adjustable. We know our strengths and we know our topics well enough that we can adapt. So it's an invitation to everyone to please do that. Carmen, the last time I was chatting, I did get a request that we sort of gather questions or not get too distracted with questions. But the nature of today's topic is actually, the tech talks are supposed to be question driven. So we will manage that as best we can, but stay on topic as much as we can as well. But sometimes you just have such interesting questions that you raise, and it's very hard to ignore. But on that point, good morning. For those of you that are new to us, although I think I tend to lurk around SAAA quite a bit, and I'm here, there, and everywhere. I think I know I've got another session this week and I've got 2 sessions next week, so I'm definitely on the calendar for SAAA. Carmen, you've come across from the tax side, just as I've been lurking at tax faculty and some other places this week. So I lurk here. You lurk here. But today's one of those topics actually that we're pretty evenly interested in, because the nonprofit space is definitely growing. It's something that you and I have kept our eyes on for a couple of years, much like we've kept our eyes on trusts. So, by the way, for those of you, this is Carmen. She's the tax part of the partnership, fills in the blanks for me from a tax perspective, and is brilliant at what she does. So, Carmen brings the tax thoughts, and I bring the other side. Yep, you were going to say? No, I
was going to say we round each other off, and we've gotten to the point where we kind of go, okay, and now I'm passing over too.
I was about to say in a Jerry Maguire moment, you complete me. But we are part of the whole. Yeah. So we wanted to dabble in and look at nonprofits. Now, nonprofits is quite a gray space, I think. It's one of these areas where lots of different pieces of law definitely overlap, and there are different ways to look at this, see this, different purposes that these entities serve. I'm going to use the word entity because they can take up various different forms, but they have got characteristics of them. They are sort of like you can spot one in the wild, as it were. There are implications around these. So for me, I'm going to take my normal side of it, which is legislation, accounting, and assurance. Whereas Carmen definitely has, in some ways, some of the heavy lifting, because the non-profit space from a tax space is not as straightforward as people always assume. People seem to think non-profit, therefore tax-free. It tends to be that I think it's an old school thinking. Let us just get into this category, and if we're in this category, we're safe, let's hide here. But it's not as straightforward as that. And that's really what's been driving us over the last few years to bring this topic to light, and to have a robust debate about it. And for people to talk about it. There's certain questions that we get repeatedly. So we've sort of built that into the course. But again, whatever you're dealing with in your personal capacity, whatever issues you have, please feel free to raise them to us, and we'll try and address them as best we can during the session. So, Carmen, anything before we start?
Yeah,
before we start digging
I was
in?
going to say, look, I think also one of the issues that we've really run across in this, and you'll see that we'll mention this again when we get to the tax side, but one of the big problems also in this space is it really is, and I use this as a term of endearment, I promise, is, this is also the space in which you get the bunny huggers and the do-gooders, and, the people who just want to save the monkeys and the planet, and I don't know, whatever your current, whatever your topic is that's near and dear to your heart. And people like that who really are that giving tend to be really good
altruistic.
at getting... Yeah, very altruistic. They tend to be very good at getting the actual work done. But as a rule, they tend to be absolutely appalling at the admin. Or you've got everyone's doing this on a volunteer basis. And because they're doing it on the volunteer basis, it's number 97 on the list. And people think, well, the good work's being done. And then the admin and the legalities kind of get pushed to the back burner. So you don't actually have people proactively managing the challenges. And that's generally, for me, where I've found the biggest problems have come. It's not because this couldn't have been fixed in the beginning. It's because you tend to be finding out the problem 6-7 years down the line because someone suddenly actually started asking a question. And I think that's something we have to always keep in mind here, is that there's a very real... discrepancy is not the right word. Challenge is possibly a better one, in the sense that you will be dealing with people who are doing this on a part-time volunteer basis. And as such, you aren't going to get the same level of dedication and proactiveness that you would in a normal profit space.
And often they're so passionate about their cause and so passionate about what they're doing, and that is their full focus, that this is irritating. This is, why do we have to do this? Why do we? And it's often down to the 11th hour. Oh, wait, the funder wants financials. Where do we pull those out of? And then on the other side, I think I find, especially because of working with the compilation and assurance side, these are non-profit situations. So the cash funds sometimes are non-existent. They're requiring the work to be done at a certain level and a certain standard, but they actually can't pay for it, for the quality of it needing to be done as well. So there is that tension of needing things to be done because the funders need it to be done, but actually struggling to pay for it as well, which then bears, that might be where your social responsibility comes and says, well, I'll do this on an honorary basis. But then we all know that those things that we are, do on an honorary basis generally do not take precedence over the fee-paying work, which we need to keep the lights on and the staff paid, and other such things. So it's a interesting, tricky space that calls for a lot from the people, and also at the same time, it's a high-risk space. From an ethics point of view and from an assurance point of view, talk about protecting public interest, because these entities and these organizations that are in this space, public interest from the work that they do, public interest from the funds that they receive, public interest from their role that they play in the communities. There's a whole lot of public interest, even just because they're taking funds from people off the street to work with. and you have a responsibility to make sure that the funds that are coming in are being used for the purpose that they've been allocated for.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you. And